Now, even after 2 years in Russian prisons, Putin critic Alexei Navalny remains dangerously defiant, voicing opposition to the Russian president's invasion of Ukraine. But the push to break Putin's stranglehold over Russians comes at a high cost, and certainly more costly with each passing day. Our Nick Robertson reports.
Alexei Navalny, Putin's poisoned and jailed Uber critic, is in a race for survival against his nemesis, according to his team.
So far, touch wood, they haven't gone ahead with trying to kill him.
Locked up in one of Russia's most dangerous jails, his health is failing, but not his spirit.
People are not allowed to communicate with him. This kind of isolation is really purely psychological torture.
Incarceration on trumped-up charges of fraud and terrorism are only stoking his and his family's fire to free Russia of Putin's stranglehold. Navalny narrowly survived poisoning by Putin's henchmen in August 2020. They smeared the deadly nerve agent Novichok on his underwear. Putin smirked as he denied the attack. But recovering in Germany, Navalny and his team not only discovered the poisoners worked for Putin, but Navalny actually got one of them to confess.
You're aware of the risks of going back.
I understand that Putin hates me, and I understand that these people who are sitting in the Kremlin, they are ready to kill.
January 17th, 2021, and despite knowing the risks, he flew back to Moscow, was arrested on arrival, has been in detention ever since. His investigative team, now in exile, helped keep his anti-corruption, anti-Putin fight strong.
He passes handwritten notes, and then we type them up. So the level of risk that he takes on himself is very impressive.
So far, they say, Navalny's gamble to go back to Russia is paying off.
We are now one of the most loud anti-war media.
But the cost is dire. Navalny is battling for survival, from winter boots to basic medicine, even the right to have a hygienic cellmate.
Putin is not going to survive this war. The question is how long it takes.
And can Alexei survive how long it takes?
We really hope that Navalny personally and us as a political power that we will be in good enough shape, in a very strong shape, to act.
Navalny himself, clear-eyed, if he loses the race.
My message for the situation when I'm killed is very simple: not give up.
Nick Robertson, CNN.
Germany today demanded Russian authorities provide urgent medical attention, in their words, to dissident Alexei Navalny. He's said to be in declining health, being held in one of Russia's harshest prisons, being cycled in and out of solitary confinement, and denied medical treatment, according to his wife and attorney. More now what he is going through and his refusal to be silenced from his daughter, Dasha. Dasha, thank you so much for being with us tonight. First of all, do you know right now what your father's condition is?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Anderson, for having me. It's a huge honor. Thank you so much for lighting the light on the situation that's happening. I know what's happening, and my biggest concern with my dad's situation is his physical health right now. We all know that Russian prisons aren't well equipped for the cold winters, and of course, my father got the flu. His condition is not good. I'll be honest, he has a cough and a fever, and he's expectedly very exhausted. They purposefully placed a mentally unstable person in a cell next to him who screams at night, so my father isn't even able to get any sleep at night. The prison officials are refusing to treat him. When my father requested to be placed in the prison hospital, they said it was full of people who might get him infected, however, agreed to take his cell roommate into the prison hospital, essentially spreading the virus to my dad. Even before the flu, he had some severe back problems, and he requested to have a doctor visit many, many times for a long time. And eventually, the doctor visited him once, prescribed him injections of an unknown name, and didn't give a diagnosis. We're trying to get him all the help that we can get, and we actually have got a lot of Russian doctors to sign my mother's plea and supported the plea for medical care for my dad. But yes, his health is my primary concern at the moment.
Obviously, I know in the past your father has been able to communicate limitedly, I mean, via letters or through his attorneys. Has that become more difficult? When were you actually last able to communicate with him?
So the last time I saw him in person was a year and a half ago for my birthday, September 2021. We talked over the small phone that's in prisons, and the whole movie scene where we leaned our palms against the mirror, against the glass that separated us, and it looked like we were holding hands. It was very sweet, but of course, not the same as being really in person. In December, I sent him a letter just talking about my fall quarter and what courses I'm taking in this quarter winter. And I actually just got a reply a couple of days ago. Yeah, it's nothing super interesting.
What do you think about, I mean, your father went back to Russia knowing after he was poisoned, and recovered, he went back to Russia, flying in, knowing what he was going back to. As his daughter, I mean, it's incredibly heroic. It's extraordinary. As his daughter, what is that like to know that your father, has repeatedly putting his life on the line for something larger than him or the family, for so many other people?
Right. Well, I'm not gonna say that it hasn't been difficult. I really miss him. I've always been a father's daughter. Before this, he would get arrested, but no longer for a couple of days or a week. And this is definitely, especially when he was first arrested for the first year, it was definitely hard for me to understand that I can't just text or call my dad whenever I wanted to. But it's hard, but someone has to do the work that he does, and I'm proud of him for doing it, and it makes supporting him that much easier.
Dasha, thank you so much. I wish you the best.
Thank you.